in. We'll also go live on YouTube. Okay, we are live, right? We are live. So the people, those who are connected, it would be great if you could let me know that is my audio video clear. If the audio video is clear, you can just write clear in a chat box. If the audio video is clear, you can just write clear in the chat box. जो Zoom से connected है, please बता दीजिए, is my audio video clear? Is my audio video clear? If it is clear, just write clear in the chat box. Right? जो connected है, please बता दीजिए. Waiting for your confirmations. Waiting for your confirmations. YouTube की जनता बता दीजिए, please बता दीजिए. Right? जो Zoom से connected है, please बता दीजिए. Got it. I think the most awaiting session, काफी time से session pending था. Right? And a lot of students were asking me कि कब आ रहे हैं हमारे बैंक के mentors where he'll guide us. Right? Got it. All clear, sir. All clear. YouTube पे कोई confirmation नहीं दे रहा है. YouTube के confirmation के लिए बस मैं wait कर रहा हूँ. शुभम भाई ने बोल दिया clear. शुभम, thank you यार. तुम ही हो शुभम, right? Okay. एकता ने भी कह दिया clear है. Okay. Great. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the session on how to prepare for banking companies. Right. So the session is divided into two major parts. First, we have our mentor Rajnish Roy sir, who has been working with the banking domain for almost 20 plus odd years. मतलब जितनी हमारी उम्र है उतना उनका experience है, उतना उनका तजुर्बा है. Right. So he is gonna be sharing his journey. And after that, we'll also guide you regarding how to prepare for interviews, what are the growth opportunities, every damn thing is going to be covered. But before we start, एक बार सभी से request है जो Zoom से connected हैं, right? एक बार videos on करके और unmute करके जोरदार तालियों के साथ mentor को welcome करते हैं. उनके घर तक आवाज पहुंचा देते हैं जोरदार तालियों के साथ. Welcome sir, welcome for the session. Yes. मैं सभी को म्यूट कर देता हूँ, अदरवाइज बहुत ज्यादा हॉटस्पॉट सिचुएशन हो जाएगा. सो जस्ट टू गिव अ स्मॉल इंट्रोडक्शन अबाउट रजनीश सर. So Rajnish sir is chartered accountant, CFE and CAMS and ISO 9001 lead auditor with 20 plus years of work experience in the banking and financial services. He has worked in countries like India, UAE and Africa, and predominantly in audit, risk management, compliance, fraud investigation. He has been a chief internal auditor in a large business conglomerate where he used to handle the global responsibilities of multiple geographies, including GCC and a region like Oman, Kuwait, Malaysia, Philippines, and many more. And currently he is heading the internal audit of a Japanese company. And he has spent his most of the career in the banking domain. So I feel like he's a right person. He's a perfect mentor to guide you out. Rajesh sir, first of all, really thank you for joining in for the today's session, right? And I feel like you're the perfect mentor to guide all of our students.
Yeah, thanks, Shivam. I'm happy to be here actually, and really looking forward to it.
Great. Sir, I would like you to brief about your journey, that how your this past few years were into the banking sector, or how was your journey all about?
Right. So, am I audible clearly?
Perfectly audible. Sir.
Yeah, perfect. So, banking journey started way back in 2002, 2003, around that time. I did not aspire for banking, actually. It just happened. Okay. So I was working for Ferguson at that point of time. And eventually, a few of my colleagues said कि वो ICICI Bank में interview हो रहा है, जाओ हो जाएगा types. So I went there in ICICI Bank. That time, ICICI Bank was a very, very small bank. It's not what it is right now. It used to be a very small bank. KVK, as in KV Kamath, the stalwart in banking used to be the MD and CEO at that time. So I went for the interview, and I still remember the first question that was asked to me was, if you are a chartered accountant, and if you know the balance sheet in banking, which side do you want to be? You want to be the asset or you want to be the liability? Achha. So वो तो मेरे लिए absolutely it was a confusing question. I didn't understand. So ऐसे मैंने बोल दिया liability. तो ठीक है, बोला ठीक है, then you go and report to Patna branch. So I was sent to Patna. Okay. That's how the journey started, and it went on. It has been predominantly an exciting journey. Okay. Although I initially started my career in branch banking as an executive trainee, I was a trainee there. Then I became a branch ops manager, branch manager. Then I thought as a branch manager, you need to do a lot of sales, right? A lot of stuff. So somewhere I felt that sales is probably not my cup of tea. Then moved into operations back with Deutsche Bank. And then opportunity came with PwC as a subject matter expert in banking. From then the financial crime profile started actually. The audit, risk, fraud, all that profile started and it continued. So apart from banking, I worked with NBFCs also, NBFC and insurance company, HDFC Life, I worked for some time. UAE, I was with again a large business conglomerate. They had a financial arm. So I used to take care of the audit there, which gave me a exposure, multi-geographic exposure. That was a phenomenal exposure. And yeah, and then I'm here now talking to all of you.
Great. So, sir, if I look into the live on YouTube, just a second. So great. I think if I look into the number of companies which you have worked, right? So you have covered most of the companies in your career pathway, right? From ICICI, then Deutsche Bank, PwC, Yes Bank, and then you worked with Aditya Birla Finance, HDFC Finance, Axis Bank.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really good to see that you have a diverse range of experience into the banking sector. So what was your, sir, one of the key learnings from the banking domain?
So first and foremost, my job changes should not be a yardstick, please. For the youngsters, I'm saying that will become very difficult at a later part of your career. I have been fortunate enough to have great bosses to work who kind of, probably because of my capability was pulled in back again. So if you see that a lot of times I have been pulled back into the same companies back again. But the biggest achievement, if I have to say about the banking domain is, or whatever I could achieve, is the experience, and that is tremendous. Banking industry is a highly regulated industry. Okay. There is, other than your the medical and all these field, I think financial services is one of the highly regulated industry. It is the backbone of the economy, any country you talk about. So obviously there is a lot of regulatory focus. So talking to regulators, understanding their perspective, and is one of my key takeaways, which actually changes your perspective. Talking to RBI officials, or for that matter, regulators of any country, it changes your perspective. Second of all, as a AML financial crime professional, I also got the opportunity to interact with a lot of law enforcement agencies, like your EDs and your CBI and all these. That was also a very remarkable experience, both good and bad way, both ways, because they are extremely hard taskmaster, if I use that term. But the best part about banking is it's disciplined. It's very disciplined. You need to close your books on time. You need to do reporting on time. Otherwise, RBI will kind of breathe down your neck. They're not going to spare you. And RBI, trust me, globally, I have seen they are one of the most respected regulators. And that is how they are looked at. And our RBI officials are also phenomenal. So discipline is the best thing that I have seen in this particular industry.
Okay, got it. So since you have spent a lot of time into this industry, a lot of our fresher chartered accountants are getting a lot of roles in the banking. So yeah. I would like you to throw some light on what are the major roles offered to the fresher chartered accountants into the banking domain.
Right. So I'll go back to my first interview question, balance sheet. Okay. So all of you know the assets and the liabilities. Of course, the bank also has its assets and liabilities. The assets is primarily, you have to understand, it's the lending business, right? When a bank lends, it is basically the asset book, and whatever deposits are being taken from the customer in form of what we call it as demand and time deposit, it is classified as liability. If I need to classify the roles that are generally given, if you are on the asset side, if you are going, and typically a chartered accountant would typically go into the asset side of the business, where there is more credit appraisals, more credit management role and can also have a relationship role also, basically managing the asset customers and all that, customer acquisition and disbursements and all those things. On the liability side, it can be branch banking, like I started. It can be from the branch banking typically. But considering the experience and the qualification that is gathered, you can graduate and you can come to a regional role and a zonal role. Then at a head office, you can pick up a compliance role, which are very critical. Apart from that, there are certain other roles also, like you can get opportunities in the treasury function, which are generally not offered to freshers, but you may find a lot of opportunities coming around as treasury dealers. But you need a lot of experience in that. So especially on the people who are having these FRM and CFA kind of profile would generally go there. But I have seen some chartered accountants also going and working there.
Got it. So, sir, a lot of our candidates, if I talk to a lot of my students out, right, majorly I find two major roles which are there. One is a credit manager and second is a relationship manager. So, first of all, I would like you to brief about what exactly the role of credit manager is and what is a growth trajectory of this credit manager. Supposingly, if I join as a credit manager in any of the bank, where I can see 5 years down the line myself, and what are the growth opportunities there?
Okay, so credit manager, the primary role. So you have to first understand in a bank, there's a relationship team, there's a business team that we call it. They source the business, right? So typically, if I take an example, either on a corporate mid-segment or an MSME, there would be a company who is in need of a working capital loan or maybe a term loan. So there can be various types of requirements, fund-based, non-fund-based, LCs, because our entire business is running on that, right? So they would typically pick up a proposal from the customer that he is in need of XYZ products. Now, generally, that proposal comes to the credit team, or what we call it as the credit management or the risk team. Now, the primary role of credit and risk is to do the analysis or the financial due diligence, financial analysis in terms of the strength of the company, how much financially strong they are, what is the pedigree of the company, what is the pedigree of the promoters, what is their backing, how much experience they have. It covers the entire spectrum. It's a very, very important role, because based on the credit manager's appraisal, only the credit committee, who generally approves the loan, would typically take the decision whether the loan will get sanctioned or not. And I'm purely talking about a corporate side, so corporate mid segment. In retail, it is very straightforward, because if you go and apply for a home loan, your profiling is already very structured. There will be a CIBIL score that will be analyzed. Your bank statement, etc., will be reviewed, and accordingly the decisions are taken quick, because the ticket sizes are small and the turnaround has to be faster. So in retail, you don't really do a financial analysis. So you really don't go through a person's balance sheet and all those things. It's not required, because I am basically taking a bet on the person, and already it's a secured loan, because I already have something against that. Either it will be a home loan or it will be a vehicle loan. Apart from that, there are a couple of products like personal loan and credit card, which are extremely expensive. That is precisely the reason why it is expensive, because it is unsecured. But on the corporate and the MSME side, the role, each case is a new case. So each customer you interact, that is the flavor of the banking. So because when you move into the corporate and the MSME segment, so large corporate, mid corporate, small corporate, maybe a MSME, whatever, even a sole proprietorship firm doing export business, that every day their requirement is changing, and each customer will be unique. based on their business. A person doing a mango business somewhere in Ratnagiri will be very different from a person doing a steel business somewhere in Rourkela or somewhere. So that entire spectrum, as a credit manager, you need to understand the business also, customer's business, and that will help you analyze the financials. So that is first part of the question. So as a credit manager, it is your responsibility to appraise that particular file and that particular case, and then recommend for approval, either recommend or reject, or you can give it back to the relationship team ki nahi, ye to we cannot lend. He's a customer. We don't want to lend. We don't want to take so much risk. Now, all these are governed under various policies. I'm not going into that because there are a lot of credit policies are there. There are KYCML policies. There each bank has a lot of policy. If anyone is interested, you go to any bank's website. All these are updated in the bank's website. It is as per the disclosure norms. They are required to put it up. So you can go through the large number of policies are there. It doesn't happen on whims and fancy. It is structured, but you have to take a call as in whether you want to finance this kind of a business or not. For example, I'm giving very hot topic right now and very relevant for an interview question, can be possibly, I don't know. Probably if I would have interviewed, I would have asked youngsters on the crypto side, right? Cryptocurrency. Now in crypto, there is a lot of things happening globally. Okay, in India also, there are a lot of people who are investing in a crypto and doing a lot of stuff. But there has been some time back, RBI gave a regulations saying that you cannot do crypto. So banks, they were prohibited or they were alerted that if you notice somebody doing crypto, then you have to do some XYZ steps. You have to report it to somebody and all those things, which was challenged in the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court basically squashed that order, which came back. Now RBI has left it to the bank to decide. Now, many banks are not taking that call, right? Many banks, as in whatever I know, none of the banks want to. So if you as a customer, if you want to have a crypto platform like a Binance or maybe these companies are there, no? Wazirex and all that. And suppose you want to finance them, you want to finance them, you will be you will not get financed. You will not get onboarded also. So that is a very live example. That's a business call that has been taken. Many banks, while there are many banks who are doing also, but majority of them will not do a crypto business. So if you want to go for a finance, or even if you want to open an account where you will route all crypto transactions, it will not happen, or it will happen. You as a customer, you would not know many things. At the back end, there will be a lot of reporting that will go to a lot of law enforcement agencies because it has its own risk. Because as a government, we have not decided yet what is the stand on crypto, which will take some time because it's evolving. So I hope I answered the first part of the question. As a credit manager, what is the role? Now, second part is as a growth trajectory. Growth trajectory as a chartered accountant, as a credit manager, it is immense. You can grow. There is, you can grow means you can, if you are amazingly good, you can go up to the position of the CRO also. You can become the chief risk officer of the bank, which is a very, very senior position in a bank because the entire risk vertical is reporting to him. But there are also a lot of cross-functional risks also. A credit manager typically looks after the credit risk, right? Apart from that, there are a lot of other risks a bank has, like your what we call it as a which is asset liability mismatch. So basically an ALCO, that's asset liability committee, is there. So your long-term assets and your long-term liabilities, your short-term assets and short-term liabilities. So there are departments. Then there is a Basel III. Your capital adequacy is there. These all comes under the risk. Your legal is there. Technology is there. There are a lot of chartered accountants in the IT space also. In the tech platform, they are doing great work on the tech side as an IT security officer, or even as an IT officer, as a maybe a CIO. There are a lot of people who are working on the tech side. So for a chartered accountant, I think, see, once you are a CA, and when you are entering into a bank, I think we should take it as a stepping stone into the bank, right? After that, it is an open field. You can work anywhere you want and you can grow anywhere. I started from branch banking. I moved into audit. Then I moved to compliance, vigilance. All these things I have done. So I have kind of tried to stay away from sales because sales was not my cup of tea. So I tried to stay away from there. But there are a lot of people who are doing extremely well on the corporate banking side, on the I'm talking about the business side. Um, so it is endless, actually. Opportunities are endless. You can go into treasury, you can go into money market instruments. There are ample opportunities. It's how I look at it as a CA. Once you got an opportunity, it's an entry point. You work in a particular profile, which now you think is probably that you are desperate to have, and मतलब ये मिल गया तो मेरा जिंदगी बन जाएगा. But after maybe couple of years, your opinion will change because you are going to see a whole new world. Absolutely, you are just getting into the rabbit hole, and it is phenomenal. You never know about, maybe business might excite you after a couple of years, or even compliance might excite you. And fortunately, that's one of the best part about banking is all the banks promote what we call it as an IJP, internal job posting. So after a certain number of years you have worked in a particular role, you can always apply for any position that is getting published. So every bank has a policy that any position that is getting opened in a bank or any vacancy that is getting created, they first give the opportunity to the internal people first. Okay. And you can always apply, and you would be surprised to know you can apply not even informing your boss. There are certain banks, they are so transparent because they really want to build in a culture of complete career growth for all the employees. So your boss might not want you to go, but suppose you want to go, you can apply and go, and nobody can stop you. And that is true for at least top 3-4 private sector banks, at least that I know of. And I have seen that happening, that I have seen happening with my team member also. That he applied, he got selected, and you can easily go through. So somebody is asking, can you name the banks? I would not, because these are internal things. Let it be. Maybe we can have a separate conversation on that. Yeah.
Right. Sir, and what's your take on the relationship manager? What is the role and the growth?
Okay, so the relationship manager is basically on the business side, right? Like I was mentioning, the people who source business. So if you are getting a position, or if you're getting an opportunity of a relationship team or relationship management, you are the face of the bank or to the customer. In front of the customer, you are the person to go to. So whatever is required, he will be reaching out to you, right? And that would entail everything: your existing relationship, your new relationships that you bring in, you nurture that, you do cross-selling, all that. But that would be purely on the sales side. And you would be required to attain a certain number, right? So you will be given, of course, you will be given targets. You have to achieve those targets. So many people always look down upon relationship manager role, but I believe they are the bread earners for the bank, because if they don't get business, there is no role of the credit manager. Absolutely no role of the credit manager. They will not be required because there is no relationship, no customers only, right? So but the only positive side, which I would also try to tell everyone, is if you really perform well, you grow very fast in the relationship side. It's definitely a high stress job. I'm not denying. In any ways, in a bank, all jobs are high stress. Credit, it's not very easy, because your relationship managers also will put a lot of pressure on you to clear off files, etc. So that pressure will be there. But the pressure is different for different roles. For a relationship role, sales will be the pressure. You will have targets. You have to achieve numbers. You have to achieve fee income, non interest income. All those will be there. But if you achieve, you can become the MD also of the bank. You will never find somebody from a credit becoming an MD. I have not seen that. Or maybe from a finance team becoming an MD or a compliance team becoming an MD. That person will saturate. Means you cannot go beyond a CCO, right? You cannot go beyond a chief compliance officer or chief risk officer. 99% of the times, I'm saying 90 to 99% of the times. But a relationship person, you can become a regional head, zonal head, business head. And if everything goes well, you can also become the MD also of the bank.
Great. In fact, a lot of new things we are coming to know about the banking side, right? Sir, any lights on the treasury side of a banking?
Yeah, treasury. Treasury again. It is a different business, right? There you have in the treasury also. It's again extremely regulated because you are making money for the bank on customers' money, right? So on somebody else's money, you are making money for the customer also, for the bank also. And also, so I'm talking about pure investment treasury. So where you do a lot of, so there are a lot of SLR, CRR requirements, so statutory liquidity ratio, where RBI has prescribed norms that you have to make investment in these securities only. You cannot take extra exposure in a particular security, particular bond, etc. So it's very regulated. You also can do trading also. So there is a trading book where you can do FX trading. So basically, you can take positions on your US dollar or maybe a pound. So if there's a back-to-back contract, so if there's a customer who needs US dollar, right? So you have to buy it from the market and sell it to him. So you make money there. So at what rate it will be bought and at what rate it will be sold to the customer, all these things are not generally, all these things are done by the treasury people. Okay. It is extremely technical because these instruments are in itself very technical. Your forwards, your options, your futures, your derivatives, and RBI has given freedom to the banks to operate in majority of these instruments. Of course, there are a lot of monitoring there, but it's not prohibited. If you want to do trading on a particular, if you want to take some positions, you can do that. So in my experience, I have generally not seen freshers going into that particular field. But if anybody is getting an opportunity in the treasury, I think you can definitely take it. But treasury also has three segments, if I may use that term. Of course, there is a front office, which is called, again, front office is nothing but a relationship team, right? For treasury products. So just to give you an example, suppose Adani wants to do a deal in, let's say, US, and they are in requirement of some dollar contracts, etc. So he would typically get in touch with Adani's relationship manager, who would be a kind of a person who would interact with that company. That relationship manager will come to the front office people. Front office are like your sales people, that, okay, your customer wants this, okay, I'll try to sell you at that. And they are also the dealers. So all these deals, positions are taken by them. So dealers make huge sum of money because they are taking huge risk. And their downside is also there. If you lose money, and then it's only a matter of seconds where you can lose huge crores and crores of money just can wiped out. And the mid office is the risk team. Again, it comes within the treasury risk or the liquidity risk or treasury risk, where they monitor all these transactions and all the positions, how much is the open position, how much hedging is required. And lastly is the back office. Back office is like your operations team. They execute transactions. So treasury, I would say it is difficult to get as a fresher. I would not discourage anyone, but whatever I have seen, I'm just sharing my experience. But if you want to eventually get into a treasury role, it is always better to, along with your CA, if you can do other courses like your this FRM, that's a financial risk management FRM, which is done by GARP, or your CFA, or all these courses typically helps you to get into the treasury because it's hardcore financial risk and those modelings are there. I don't even understand. There's a Black and Scholes model and all those things. So those things are actually applied there.
Right. Great. I think you gave a very clear picture about this thing. So before we move to the questions and interview preparation, sir, one more important thing which I want you to talk about is that a lot of the students with whom I interact, right, they are much worried कि यार banking से career start करे कि नहीं. This is the what they ask me. Or they're worried कि यार sir मैं start तो कर रहा हूँ, but will I be restricting myself to banking only? Or I'm a bit worried about कि what are the exit opportunities from a banking. Though people, those who are connected, those who feel like this is your problem, just write yes in the chat box so that will come to know the count also. Do you feel this is the thing or this is something which is troubling you out? If yes, just write yes in the chat box. We'll see the count. Right? YouTube की जनता, yeah. Right. So YouTube से जो भी connected है, you can also write yes in the chat box. We'll be happy to see the count. So more than 200, 300 odd people are watching the session out.
Oh, great. Excellent.
Yes.
So there are a lot of yeses actually.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You can cover this out. Not a problem.
Okay, I think too many people are interested, right?
Yes.
So I look at it, Shivam, I look at it differently. Okay, so see, when you're choosing a career path, right, you have to at least when I passed out and I got the opportunity, I did not think so much. I got an opportunity and I got into it, right? And obviously at that point, ICICI Bank was one of the greatest opportunity that I could have got. I got it. Now, see, industry specific specializations are required nowadays. Okay, if you are a generalist, you will lose value eventually. The precise reason why I am talking to all of you, because I am an industry specialist, right? There is no other reason. If I would have been a generalist कि मैंने थोड़ा FMCG भी किया, थोड़ा मैंने IT भी किया, थोड़ा banking भी किया, मेरा उतना broad based strong knowledge base नहीं होगा, right? Principally, I am saying if you want to get into industry, it need not be banking. And this is true for any industry. If you want to get into FMCG, IT, anything, but you have to be a specialized there, right? That is one very, very important thing, because otherwise what will happen, 10 years down the line, if you are a generalist, the best opportunity of a generalist would be always in the consulting. If you want to be in the consulting space, of course, is it that the consulting people are not making great money? They are making great money, but they are also, they get exposure in all the industries, be it telecom, oil and gas, be it banking, be it IT, tech, everywhere they're getting experience. But again, will you consider them specialists? Probably not. If there is a big client who comes for a banking project, say, let's say I'm not taking names, but if they come for a banking project in a large big four, they would need a banking specialist, right? Otherwise, they will not be able to deliver the project. So being specialist is very important. That is one. Two is banking is a very regulated, disciplined industry. Okay. Your mindset will only be different. If you work in this industry for some time, your mindset will be such that you will be very regulatory governed and driven. And you know that this is right, this is wrong, that black and white comes out very clearly. So exit opportunities will always come. Why not? As in even if you work for 2-3 years, you get an opportunity somewhere else, it will always keep coming. If you apply also, you might get also. That's not a big deal. As in, anytime you want to move into consulting, you will get those opportunities. But I would always suggest the young qualified chartered accountants who are on this particular platform, it always makes sense to be a specialist. That is how your value will grow. That is how you will become niche in the market. Will it restrict you in the banking industry is huge in India. It's absolutely huge and it is growing extremely fast. If you look beyond India also, banking financial services is a huge industry, right? There's no dearth of job in any industry for that matter. If there is a slowdown in the economy, of course, things will slow down. But if there is, economies are growing, all the industries will go. Banking, especially, there will never be dearth of job. And if you're a specialized banking professional and you have a specialized topic, let's say, let's say credit or maybe treasury very well, right? So then probably your domain becomes very, very narrow. You probably can only work around that space only. But in the banking, if you try to, that is precisely the reason why still now, if you go to large public sector banks like SBI and your SBI, PNB, all these likes, if you enter these banks as a probationary officer, no, they will transfer you every year in each department. Okay, so they will put you first in credit, then they will move you into branch, then they will put you into treasury, they will put you into currency chest, they will put you in all the, so by rotation, what happens, you get the complete picture of that, of the bank. So if you see Arundhati Bhattacharya, who was the chairman of SBI, if you read her career growth, that is how she grew, because by moving into across all the departments, she became a wholesome banker, right? That is the objective. So my advice would, let's not be generalist. If you want to if you want to stand out from the crowd, anyways, you are now standing out of the crowd because you're a chartered accountant. So that part is done. Now you have to select an industry where you want to focus. Switching between the industry doesn't, I would not recommend, because it will really dilute your value. So just to share one example, if suppose I am hiring somebody and he comes to me with 2 years in telecom, 2 years in oil and gas, will it make sense to me? I don't think so. It will not. I would look for a hardcore banker only.
Got it. One more last question regarding the same. So say, for example, if I start my career with banking, so will I be only able to switch in the banking companies, or I can also switch to different companies out?
No, you will get to switch to multiple companies also. There is you will not restrict yourself. There are many cases I have seen people have really moved out of banking and gone and worked in various industries. Likewise, there are various people outside the industry, like for airlines, oil and gas, and even a lot of people there also have come into the banking industry. But your opportunity within the consulting space will also be there. But that will, how shall I put it? That will be there only initially, but initial 7, 8, maybe 10 years will be there, right? After that, your desire will only go. I would say after 5 years, your desire will not be there, because you will be a little niche in the market. No, you will know that this guy works with so and so bank. वो एक है, प्राइड फैक्टर तो है, मतलब जितना भी गंदा काम हो वो अलग बात है. Ganda काम means not a dirty work as in that sense, means pressure work, jitna bhi ho, but you will learn a lot. And so opportunities, one, of course, within the banking domain, there will be enough and more opportunity. If you want to venture out, consulting would be another opportunity. Beyond that, also you want to venture out, obviously you can go, but not recommended. I would not recommend that.
Okay, got it. Great. I think a lot of doubts are clear for the students out. Now moving to the most important question for which the students are waiting, right? So we'll cover the doubts at the end. Don't worry, jiske doubts रह गए, don't worry, we'll cover all the doubts at the end. One of the most important questions जो सभी को सुना, I just wanted to hear this out in the chat box also. How to prepare for interviews for banking? This is the most important question which students are waiting for. How many of you are excited to hear the answer for the same? If you're excited, just write excited in the chat box. If you're excited, just write excited in the chat box. Okay, very excited. Sir, इसी के लिए
Very.
तो आए थे हम. Got it. जो Zoom से connected है यार, फटाफट वीडियोस ऑन कर लीजिए यार, फटाफट वीडियोस ऑन कर लीजिए, ग्रुप फोटो भी ले लेंगे तब तक के. Meanwhile you are writing excited, right? क्या पता हम भी कल आए आपके पास लोन लेने के लिए, हमारा लोन पास कर देना प्लीज. इफ यू आर एक्साइटेड जस्ट राइट एक्साइटेड इन द चैट बॉक्स प्लीज, राइट. और जो जूम यूट्यूब से कनेक्टेड है यार, वीडियो को लाइक कर दीजिए अगर आपको मजा आ रहा है तो, राइट. हमें भी एक मोटिवेशन मिलेगा, हमें भी एक अच्छा लगता है आप लोगों के लिए और कंटेंट लाएंगे, right. Just a small update for the people those who are connected. Tomorrow also we have a session for how to find a jobs in Dubai, right? So you can go to our mentorship page again and you can just register for the event. Yes, you can go to the mentorship.samong.com. वहां पे आप जाओगे तो वहां पे कल हमारा event है, how to apply and find a job for Dubai. And on upcoming weeks, lot of jobs, lot of things you'll be able to find on our mentorship page as well. I've shared the link in the chat box. जो भी interested रहेगा कल के event के लिए भी वो भी आ सकता है. Right. Okay, sir. I think everyone is excited for the very important question, ki how to prepare for this interviews. And so what we can do is that, sir, we can divide it into the parts. First, we can cover for a credit or relationship, or should we take it side by side?
No, I think it is very important what role you are being interviewed for. That is very important. And I will cover both of them side by side. If anything beyond that is there, we can always cover separately. But see, for the credit role, obviously, I'm not getting into the tell me something about yourself, take me through your CV. All those things will generally happen because those are icebreaker questions where people will try to interact with you to understand your communication skills and all that. Now, as a credit manager, you need to, very important is you need to understand financials well. So you need to be thorough with your financial analysis as a topic, ratio analysis. How do you look at balance sheets? How do you look at financials? And ratios means specific ratio, quick ratio, current ratio, ग्रॉस मार्जिन, नेट मार्जिन, इसका मतलब क्या है, आपका लिवरेज का मतलब क्या है, डेट इक्विटी रेशियो, वेदर इट्स गुड और बैड. You should have a broad-based idea. Questions, if you are being interviewed for a credit manager, questions will be around this because you are a chartered accountant, right? And you will obviously be asked if you are seeing a balance sheet of this company, how do you think it is? Now that is a very broad-based question, right? How do you think it is? Yeah, maybe they will give you some ratios. ये क्विक रेशियो है, ये रेशियो है, आप व्हाट इज योर व्यू, इज शुड व्हाट डू यू थिंक? तो one is we should be very comfortable with all the financial analysis parameters, right? That is very important. Second is you should know about some banking products because banking is as a subject, no, we don't study. That's a problem. If you take up any financials of any bank, you as a chartered accountant, it will be expected that you have gone through it. You are aware कि ब्रॉड हेड्स क्या होते हैं. मतलब है एक बैंक के बैलेंस शीट में स्टॉक होगा क्या? ऑब्वियसली नहीं होगा, राइट? एंड सिमिलरली व्हाट वुड बी योर नॉन इंटरेस्ट इनकम, योर इंटरेस्ट इनकम, your the various the ratios that are there, all these you should be aware. So ek to balance sheet dekh lena chahiye bank ka, because banks balance sheets are not traditional your trading balance sheet se thoda sa different hota hai. What is time deposit, what is demand deposit, what is CRR, what is SLR, wo to main bataunga baad mein. But these are generally true for any kind of role. You should be aware. मतलब बैंक का काम क्या है? What does a bank do? What is the primary business of a bank is very important. I'm sure all of you are aware. But if required, go through some YouTube videos, go through some journals or maybe some Wikipedia page to understand what does a bank do. It is very difficult to answer, huh? Because bank does nowadays everything, but you have to be very specific and say that this is the primary business of bank. That is one. Two is you also need to know the products. You need to use the term as time deposit, demand deposits. If you say करंट अकाउंट सेविंग्स अकाउंट तो ठीक है, मतलब वो तो आप कस्टमर जैसे आप बात कर रहे हो, बट यू शुड, इफ यू वांट रियली वांट टू स्ट्राइक सम रिलेशनशिप, यू नीड टू से कि टाइम डिपॉजिट, डिमांड डिपॉजिट, एडवांसेस हैं, एडवांसेस में आपको बोलना चाहिए वर्किंग कैपिटल डिमांड लोन, टर्म लोन, LC, letter of credit, bank guarantees, all those things you should be aware. So product spread थोड़ा सा पता होना चाहिए.
Okay.
पूछ सकते हैं कि what do you know about a BG? What is a BG? You should not be struggling, right? Because you are going for a because the guy who would be interviewing you, he knows only this only. He doesn't know anything else, right? तो अभी अब मैं आपको तो FMCG स्टॉक का कैसे वैल्यूएशन है नहीं पूछ सकता ना. ऑब्वियसली माय कैपेबिलिटी इज आल्सो लिमिटेड, माय नॉलेज इज लिमिटेड. तो मैं तो पूछूंगा जो मेरे को मालूम है, तो मैं पूछूंगा बीजी क्या है बताओ, इसका क्या है बताओ. दैट इज सेकंड. फॉर द रिलेशनशिप टीम, आई थिंक predominantly what will be asked is around the products and on the customer understanding. Okay, आप customer को कैसे assess करोगे? How will you do the KYC of a customer? And so credit में जैसे आपसे पूछा जाएगा आप appraisals कैसे करोगे? How will you, if you look at a balance sheet, P&L, what do all the things that you're going to look at? Relationship में आपको typically पूछा जाएगा कि आप customers को क्या प्रोडक्ट बेचोगे. ऐसा ऐसा कस्टमर आपको बोल रहा है, which product will you sell to the customer, right? So for that, it's important for you to know the products. 99% of the people don't know the products. The product is very widespread. और किसी को पूछेंगे तो बहुत लोग बता भी नहीं पाता है कि वो शायद कभी बैंक में गया ही नहीं है. That is a very off thing. मतलब वो because of digital banking and ATM and all that, no, they're restricted to net banking and ATM. बस उतना ही पता है. So credit relationship में very clear distinction, but it will not be a very highly technical नहीं होगा, because they also know that you are freshers, right? Very complex questions नहीं पूछा जाएगा, but आपको basics मालूम होना चाहिए. You should be aware, मतलब you should not be struggling with a quick ratio and a current ratio, or you should not be struggling with assumptions. You should not be struggling ki, suppose a question can come that a company is incurring heavy loss this year, but will you be funding that company? So you have to talk about financial projections. So we need to go through the financial projections of the company. What are the assumptions of those financial projections, and how much reliable are, or how much achievable are the financial projections? Whether the financial projections, what they have said that year one, the growth will be 200% or 300% year wise, 5 to 10 years projections generally banks ask for, whether those are commensurate to the other expense heads. Matlab aapka factory capacity is going by 200%, but your HR cost is not going up proportionately. That is impossible, right? So these things would typically be asked around this aspect, apart from the general the banking norms, which I'll take in some time.
Okay, got it. And regarding the another role for relationship manager, sir?
Relationship manager is the same. If it's on the liability side, if it's on the relationship manager as a liability, you are saying your 99% of your score will be on how good your communication skills are, right? How presentable you are. So मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि आप credit manager हो तो आप ऐसे ही चले जाओगे interview देने. So you need to be presentable at both places. But just because you will be facing the customer, they would try to assess you on your communication skill, your confidence, your product knowledge. कितना पता है product के बारे में? What are the kinds of products that can be sold to a particular customer? And if it's on the that is true for the liability and assets as well. Both. If you're a relationship manager in the liability side, maybe you are handling an HNI customers or something. So obviously you need to know the products, right? So product awareness is very important. Don't go into very nitty-gritties about products. Broadly, you should be aware what products you can be able to sell to a customer. Like you can sell an insurance also. That's a third-party product. Bank sells under the agency model they do. So that is also, you should be aware.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Sir, any idea on the things which students which they should focus on now for a preparations? As in, since you mentioning that now you said that some of the banking terms which they should be aware of.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
would it be possible for you, Shivam, to share the screen, or can we share those links
Yes.
with the?
Yes, sir. You can share the screen. Not a problem.
Okay, great. So how can we share these links to everyone? I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll have you have shared it with me. I've just collated the links in the one of the material which is there. I'll try to share with all of them. I'll just share the link with every one of them, so they'll be able to get it out.
Okay, great. So anyway, this is the capsule. So when I used to give interviews, nobody told me all these things, but मैंने broadly cover कर दिया है आप लोगों को क्या क्या पढ़ के जाना है. Okay. So the first one, if people are going for a HDFC interview, you must read this article. That's about the HDFC Bank and HDFC merger, the first one. Okay, I'm not opening these links. It will unnecessarily create upload. Once you get these links, you can yourself download and go through the articles, right? Second is just an example. This is a press release of the financials. So after every financials gets closed, no, banks generally does a press release. वो बताते हैं कि मेरा कितना प्रॉफिट हुआ, कितना मेरा डिपॉजिट ग्रोथ हुआ, कितना मेरा एडवांसेस ग्रोथ हुआ, एनपीए कितना हुआ, and all that. So whichever bank you are going to get interviewed by, you please download that press release, a recent press release. I have, as an example, I have kept here as HDFC Bank, because I understand many of you will be going for HDFC Bank interview. You just Google it. Google ICICI Bank financial press release. You will get everything. Anyways, it is available on the website. You should go through it. That is important. Third is your RBI's. These are master directions. Oh, sorry. This is a press release on the MPC. That's a monetary policy. Okay. So I'm sure many of you would be aware the governor of RBI fortnightly or there is a press release. There is a press conference that happens on the monetary policy of the for RBI, which they release, where they declare कि मेरा repo rate अभी कम हो जाएगा, तो FD rates all comes down, ये बढ़ा देंगे तो ये हो जाएगा. All that is another thing you should read and you should be aware. Okay. The next is also this is the RBI regulations. Okay. So I have given a link to the RBI regulation, master circular है, उसमें सारे master circulars हैं. So let me, if possible, let me just open one. I guess I don't know whether we have time or not. Sorry, this was the monetary policy. I'm sure all of you can see it.
No, sir. I think you have shared the second link.
Second. Okay.
You need to stop and reshare it.
Okay. 1 second.
Yeah, for the people those are connected, right? You'll be able to get a link over a SAMBHAV program. There I have shared the link. Also shared the link in the chat box. So you'll be able to get it out from there. End में आपको मिल जाएगा banking करके.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir, perfectly visible.
So this is RBI's monetary policy, the latest one, August 3rd or August 5th. अभी next वाला आने वाला है. यहाँ पे जो SDF है, marginals, ये सब terms थोड़ा पता होना चाहिए. हाँ? ये सब Google करके आप करोगे ना, पता चल जाएगा. There's no rocket science there. Then what is the inflation? Then repo rate, reverse repo rate, ये सारा रहता है इसमें. वो लोग जो बताते हैं, what Shaktikant Das generally says, it is generally covered as a press release. Here you will get it. मतलब don't go into all these graph पाप. हाँ, ये inflation क्या बढ़ा घटा कहाँ जाएगा, ये आधे लोगों मेरे को भी नहीं समझता है. But these are very technical things. But you should at least read it once before you go for the interview. This will help you. Huh? And you should look for opportunities to drop these numbers when you're talking to your interviewer. ऐसे ही पढ़ के जाओगे फायदा नहीं है, but बोलना पड़ेगा ना कि sir, yeah, I watched मैंने देखा sir, I read the monetary policy and the repo has come down. आप बोलोगे, he will get super impressed. Yeah, you should get or look for opportunities to drop these numbers. That how you will do it, I cannot teach you. You have to find out a way to do it. Right. So I'll just stop and share the links again. The next one is, I will come to these two later. Next one is, again, the same thing. I have to, I guess I'll share the whole screen. I guess that will help. I think this would be better. Now you can see?
Yeah, we can see that.
These captures all the commodities rates, stocks ka rates, currency rates. All these are there. Okay. मतलब कुछ तो you should carry with you. जैसे oil, crude oil या Brent, whatever you can. You just remember what is the current price that is going. Okay. Dollar rate क्या होना चाहिए? What is the dollar? USD euro इतना जरूरत नहीं होगा. USD INR आपको लगेगा. तो यहाँ से जितना information if you get it on the commodity side, मतलब इतना don't try to remember everything. Just pick up gold and oil price. If you get an opportunity, drop that number to in front of him. He will get impressed. Okay, so next one that I will share with you is this one. So I had opened the commodity one. Now this is the basic general indicators, economic indicators. Okay, currency rate kya hai, stock market kya hai, then GDP growth rate, inflation, interest rate. What is the interest? What is the CRR? All these top 5-10 jo hai na, if you can remember at least 3-4, unemployment and all these things are not required. Currency, stock market, inflation, interest and CRR. इतना आप याद करके जाओगे तो काफी है. And ideally you should be aware about on all these things regularly, right? Sorry, the last one I'll come there. Last one is that what I mentioned, it is the master circular of RBI. It covers all the master circular. So यहाँ पे don't try to read everything. What I'm saying is that these, whatever I have highlighted, IRAC and KYC AML, these are the two circulars. KYC AML का master circular पहले आया था, वो आपको Google करके लेना पड़ेगा, वो मिल जाएगा. ये दो आप पढ़ के जाना. Prudential norms, IRAC. These are the two things. The credit managers who are going for interviews, at least glance through it once. It will help you answering their questions. कि अगर NPA related कुछ question आ गया. Apart from these two circulars, I would recommend everyone going for a banking interview should read the KYC ML circular. That you can Google and get it, or you can get it in the notification also. But I would recommend आप Google करके देख लोगे. Like if you Google it, you will get it, right? Sorry, there's one more thing I had to share. Was last but not the least is ये दो जो है, ये again these two are examples that I have given. If we are going for an ICICI Bank interview, please go to Google. बैंक के बारे में देखना, ये राइट साइड में आता है ICICI बैंक, उसका क्या है, क्या बैकग्राउंड है and all that. If you, from here you can go to the Wikipedia page. ये थोड़ा पढ़ लेना, मतलब this predominantly gives you a broad idea about the various financials and all those things. दे देता है, थोड़ा बहुत हिस्ट्री भी रहता है, मतलब मोटा मोटा आपको बैंक के बारे में पता चल जाएगा. If you go through that, you would know कि 1,57,000 crores is the revenue and it was formed in so and so year. The basic things you will be aware. Sandeep Bakshi is the MD. पता चलेगा आपको. That is one aspect I would recommend. This is just an example. मतलब if you're going for an HDFC Bank interview, don't read this and go. Read an HDFC Bank thing and go. I am sure that people would understand. And the last bit is what I showed you is the Wikipedia page. ये आप इतना पढ़ के जाओगे काफी है. मतलब इसमें से अगर 10% भी आपने बोला ना, so I think you are done. But you should look for opportunities to tell it. Nobody will ask you कि आप बताओ मेरा repo rate कितना है. Nobody will ask you, right? You should look for opportunities to tell that. And lastly, and most importantly, please आपका जिस दिन इंटरव्यू हो रहा है उससे 2-3 दिन पहले का इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स, इफ यू कैन गो थ्रू इट, और उसमें से अगर आपको कुछ वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल इफ यू थिंक इज देयर ऑन दी बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज स्पेस, और आरबीआई बहुत कुछ करे, जैसे अभी ये फिनटेक लेके बहुत कुछ हो रहा है, डिजिटल लेंडिंग पे देयर आर लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स हैपनिंग अराउंड डिजिटल लेंडिंग. RBI is trying to curb down. There's NBFC में बहुत licensing issues हो रहे हैं and all that. If you read those articles, you will be able to talk. आप बता पाएंगे कि how do you think the banking industry is doing? You can say all these things. So I've gone through it. ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है. These are the recent things which has come out. Yeah, so that was in. I know I gave a lot of things to be read, but I think if you do it once, no, you don't have to do it every time. You don't have to remember the crude oil price every time. You will be aware. But ये होना चाहिए. You should be aware. It would be expected.
Right. So just to brief out the people those who are connected, right? I've shared the link in the chat box. You can go through it. मैं बता देता हूँ कि वहाँ पे कहाँ पे मिलेगा आपको. Right. Once you go there, you'll go to the SAMBHAV program. And once you click on continue, end में यहाँ पे I've posted all the links, right? जो भी links sir has shared, right? I've shared all the links which are there. A lot of videos which are there, right? How to prepare for stat audit, investment banking, and company-wise guidance is also there. So go to that link, you'll be able to get all the details out, plus some of the basic guidance regarding the interview preparations as well. Right? I think, sir, you have covered everything in detail. Like I became your fan by the time which you have shared everything. Right? Others can also agree on this. Right? कितने लोग sir के fan बन गए यार? Right? You can just write FN in the chat box, please. Right? We'll be happy.
ज़्यादा लिखो यार. I think that is important.
Okay. Got it. Great. YouTube की जनता यार, आप लोग वीडियो को लाइक कर दीजिए और फैन लिख दीजिए अगर फैन बन गए तो सर के. राइट. ओके सर, एवरीवन इज लाइक ग्रेट. इट वाज रियली माइंड ओपनिंग सेशन. पीपल आर लाइक और चलने दो और ज्ञान मिल रहा है हमको.
No, I can definitely continue, but I would always recommend that. See, only last thing. Maybe I'll take a minute. That it is very important that you're aware about the recent things that are happening in the industry, especially banking and financial services, because it is a so dynamic industry. Kal jo hua wo gaya. Tomorrow is a new day. So you should be aware. You should read more and more. And what is best other than Google? Just Google and read stuff.
Right. Great, sir. Great. I think a lot of things which you have covered. Now we'll open the forum for 10 minutes, sir, if you have a time. 10 or
Yeah. Please.
Great. I think we'll open the forum for our audience, which who are connected here. Links YouTube पे जो connected है यार, मैंने links chat box में pin की हुई है. Right, you'll be able to get it there. Right, YouTube channel CA Shivam Palin, CA Mong करके है, वहाँ पे आपको मिल जाएगा. जो Zoom पे connected है, अभी मैं एक बार फिर से chat पे डाल देता हूँ, so that you'll be able to get it out.
Just again, I'll say that HDFC and ICICI I had shared as an example. Okay, whatever bank you are, if it's a bank size, somewhere so Bank of Baroda, BOB, अब BOB Google करोगे, Wikipedia, सब कुछ मिलेगा. You will get everything there. Whatever bank, in fact, whatever company you are looking for, you will get it there.
Got it. Sir, a lot of people are asking, how is the finance role for the banking sector? Just a highlight on the same.
Yeah. Finance role is also it's a good role. You're talking about the finance and accounts in the banks, right? Yeah. That's also a very good role. It generally comes under the CFO. Okay. The prospects are, you're not the only challenge. Again, I'm not discouraging. The only challenge is that you are not in mainstream banking, right? It is something like you are a finance officer in Hindustan Lever. Obviously, you are not aware about the mainstream distribution channel and the products and all those things. You are aware, but you are not hands-on. तो आपको इसमें उसका पूरा accounting का सब कुछ पता होगा. In terms of their provisioning norms, your interaction with the auditors will be very intense. The stat auditors, your interaction with RBI will be very intense, because your entire provisioning, your entire asset recognition, everything is done by the finance team. So finance as an opportunity, it's a good opportunity. If you get, definitely you can look for. But whatever I have seen is banks generally would hire a finance professional from another bank,
Hmm.
or people just, like I mentioned, they take internal job postings and then they finally go into finance role. One of my colleagues had done that a long time back. So he was into audit, then he moved into finance, and he has made a career in finance.
Okay. Okay.
So like I mentioned, once you get in, then you can always keep deciding.
Got it. Sir, and a lot of the students are also getting a role in FP&A side, like Citibank and other banks which offer a lot of FP&A side. So what work exactly is there?
Okay, so FP&A is a very, very different. It's more like how shall I put it? It's more like a financial analysis role, right?
Okay.
But you will be doing it for an offshore, as an offshore entity.
Hmm.
So for instance, if you're, let's say there are a lot of other companies also like Genpact, Accenture, they are also doing a lot of FP&A work as
Right.
well for
Right.
banks. So basically what happens is they get projects from overseas banks,
Okay.
right? And these would be typically for US reporting, their various regulatory reporting, or their various financial analysis, right? This is not a core banking role,
Hmm.
not a very core, and I'm specifically talking about the names that I took,
Hmm.
not for all of them. So if FP&A in any private sector bank or any public sector bank, or let's say other banks where you're working for the bank, it would be different. But if it's an offshore role, then you will be doing for somebody else.
Okay.
Now, how will you find out? Wo generally your shift timings hota hai usme. Whatever I have seen, if you're working for JP Morgan, um, in their FP&A, and if you're in their EMEA timings or US timings, so you will be working for those banks, means their units in US. So you will be more aware about US regulations, so वहाँ पे क्या reporting होता है and all that.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Great. So, जिनके भी questions है, those who have a questions, people from YouTube and also from the Zoom, request you to put the questions on the chat box. I'll try to filter out the questions and will ask the relevant questions to sir as well. Sir, one of the candidate Harish is asking, how is a credit manager role in agriculture side? Agriculture role. He got a credit manager agriculture role.
So agri-banking actually. So
Agri-banking. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, here your customers would be typically on the agri side. So
Okay.
they will be either will be into commodity trading, or they will be into fertilizer production. Could be your farm equipments. So that segment is typically get classified under agri because there are a lot of push from the regulator and from the government to do some funding there, because we are ultimately a agri economy, right? So there are a lot of dispensations are there. You get a lot of आप उस सेक्टर में फंडिंग करना पड़ता है, which comes under PSL, priority sector lending में आता है वो. तो agri, so it's nothing bad. Only thing is that your product and your customer would be the people who would be dealing in these products. So either MSME, sole proprietorship, or whatever, will be dealing in all these fertilizers, या grains हो गया, commodities हो गया, या खुद farmer है, खुद land till करता है. Apart from along with that, there are a lot of natural resources भी हो सकता है. Maybe they are into poultry farming, या solar हो सकता है, and all these are there. But काम वही है, मतलब you have to do a credit appraisal at the end of the day of these customers, these set of customers.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. Right. So a lot of students are again asking Deepika and one more student, I think Hemant. Acha nahi, Hemant nahi hai. Mamta is asking that can I move to the investment banking role after I start my career with the banking domain, IB side?
IB is nothing but within banking only you can move into investment banking. People who are asking, have you guys, or are you guys aware what is investment banking? Although it is investment banking, it is nothing. So basically you act as
sales job.
मतलब उसमें भी it is a sales job. You typically do all these listing जो होता है ना, banks, all these companies, they go for share listing and all those things. you basically arrange for funding for these particular companies. Or suppose there's somebody who's looking for an investor, says a large business unit, they want to sell it off to somebody. They will hire an investment banker primarily to scout for opportunities and find out the best possible investor who would be willing to buy it. Opportunities will come. Definitely it will come. That means it depends on you how much you want to go there. Investment banking at one point of time, it was the highest paying job. Post 2008, it has really crashed down like crazy, as in people really don't want, because I know a lot of people, they used to earn huge amount and then they started earning almost nothing. It is so related because everything was crashed, right?
Okay. Got it. Those are connected from YouTube. यार file का link आपको description में मिल जाएगा. Nothing to worry about it. Description में आप देख लो. After the session is done, you'll be able to find it out. RM ECG role. Aman is asking it again and again.
ECG, what is the full form of ECG? If he can tell me, which group is this?
Aman or
External...
Sahil. Yeah. If you could put it over a chat box, we'll be happy.
Emerging corporates. Yeah. Emerging corporates. अब ECG बोलो मेरा ECG हो जाएगा. Okay, emerging corporates. So corporates, in the corporate segment, there are various segments. Okay. First, topmost is the large corporate. Large corporate मतलब हो गया अभी आपके घर में जिसका बिजली आ रहा है, जो आपको पानी, means the big shots, the big houses. So each bank has their own classification, and that they do it typically on the basis of their either revenue or balance sheet size. So Tatas would typically come in large corporate. Hindustan Lever will come in large corporate. Adani, large corporate. Reliance, large corporate. The big corporates are the large corporates. Then comes the mid corporates, a little smaller than those companies. So this is again classified based on their financials. Balance sheet size के basis पे उनको classify किया जाता है कि, and each bank has their own. So I'm just giving you an example. John means just an example, just a number to understand. Let's say profit or maybe revenue from 1,000 crores to 9,000 crores will fall within mid segment. Above 9,000 crores will go into large corporates. Okay, that's way the classification is done. So ECG is the emerging corporates. It's one category below mid corporates and depends on the size and the bank that you will be getting into. They will typically classify in their policy because the relationship role will be different, right? A relationship manager handling a Hindustan Lever will be very different from a relationship manager who is handling a MSME. So that is typically the classification it is done. So large corporates are handled by top-notch RMs, very, very high paid, absolutely, because they will be rubbing shoulders with the CFOs and the business heads of those companies, right? So that is the reason the classification is there. Emerging corporates are the corporates which would be smaller than the mid corporate, could be the mid corporates also, but the role is same, only your customer base will change. This would typically be your corporates, as in अभी emerging का मेरे को अभी नाम याद नहीं आ रहा है, but बहुत कुछ हो सकता है. मतलब tomorrow, if they achieve a certain number, they will move into the large corporate also. So that keeps happening. So emerging corporates, RM is a good role. You will be handling corporates like there are a lot of IT companies who would be falling under the emerging corporate segment.
Okay, got it. Sarvesh is again and again asking growth after 5 to 10 years in terms of money. बताइए sir.
No, नहीं, ये तो बहुत subjective है.
You'll get a decent pay. That is what is there. And sir, any ideas on foreign opportunities after we start our journey with banking? Can I move to foreign countries?
Absolutely. So Indian banking industry is quite evolved, right? So you will get opportunities. It will never stop in getting foreign opportunities. मतलब ऐसा मत सोचना कि bankers बाहर नहीं जाते हैं, काम नहीं करते हैं. मतलब there are a lot of I know a lot of people who have gone. In fact, the people with whom I started my career, I think all of us have worked abroad.
Acha, oh, great.
Almost all of us. But typically the pull comes from, especially the Middle East. You will get a lot of requirement because they get people from India. So Middle East, you will get a lot of people go to Africa. A lot of people go to Singapore. Singapore is also a very good market. But if you aspire, you will get overseas opportunities. There is no dearth. A lot of opportunities are there.
Okay, got it. Sir, just to summarize, a growth in relationship manager versus credit manager, because a lot of candidates have been given a choice to choose the same, or they're been asked during a time of interview ki which one they are supposed to choose. So just a small summary. I think we have already covered this out, but a lot of
No,
students
I
have-
know. I will
Yeah.
I will still answer that. See,
Yeah.
the people who have got both the roles and are kind of confused because of peer pressure or anything, please don't look down upon relationship role. Okay, if you feel that you will be able to do good in sales and you will be able to perform in sales everybody cannot do, right? Like for instance, a person who is doing sales cannot come and do compliance. Similarly, a person who's doing compliance cannot do sales. But you will have to judge your own capability and capacity. अगर आपको लगता है कि आप sales कर सकते हो, आप लोगों से बात करने में अच्छे हो, आप customers से बात करोगे तो customers will get convinced. You will be able to handle number pressures. Number pressures means monthly number, daily number. तो आप relationship role ले सकते हो. You will grow there. There is no doubt about that. But on the credit side, the role is absolutely different. You are doing credit appraisal. Matlab, you will be a gatekeeper. Relationship side, your job is to pump in business into the bank. Credit side, their credit manager's role is to be a filter. Their role is to kind of let only good customers get into the banking system. To answer your question, Shivam, it is very difficult to put a growth. Matlab, it will be purely dependent on the person. If I would have still stuck to a sales role, I wouldn't have been able to do many things what I have been able to do now, right? Although I kept changing from sales, I moved to operations, to audit, and then fraud, vigilance, all those things I did. But those decisions were taken when I kind of evolved in that whole space. If you think you cannot do sales, don't go into relationship role. आप number pressure नहीं handle कर पाओगे, मत जाओ. Don't go. I'm telling you upfront. 2 दिन में आप मतलब रोना धोना चालू हो जाएगा, ये कहाँ पे आ गया मैं. It will not happen.
Okay.
Because people don't have that flair, right? मतलब मैं रिश्तेदारों को कितना सामान बेचूंगा. बाहर भी कस्टमर को भी तो बेचना पड़ेगा ना. I have to sell it to the customers. But if it's a large banks like HDFC, ICICI, and all those things, it is, as in the name sells also, right? You are not going to go for a small finance bank. Anyways, I'm not demeaning small finance bank also, but sometimes what happens, it becomes easier when you are part of a large name. And like if you go for a small firm and approach a client, and you going as part of a big four and approaching a client will be different, right? So that's how. But sales अगर नहीं लगेगा कि नहीं बाबा ये तो sales wells नहीं होगा मेरे से, तो definitely मतलब सोचो भी मत, वो तो बहुत high pressure, high tempo job है, and there will be a lot of sales number pressure. But if you can do it, I can assure you, you will grow very fast, much faster than a credit manager, 100%. But वो caveat है ना, perform करना पड़ेगा.
Got it. So credit manager don't have this targets and role based sort of things.
No. They don't have. Their job is basically they will get credit files, review करना, analyze करना, analysis देखना, approve मतलब recommend करना, नहीं तो reject करना. They would not have sales number. They will not. But if you're going into branch banking operations में भी थोड़ा 20-30% sales रहता है, but that is manageable. But relationship लेकिन 100% ही sales है.
Okay. Got it. Sir, a few highlights on this regarding the internal audit role. Payal Shah is asking the same. How's the internal audit role in the banking and what I am supposed to prepare? Just
Oh, fantastic. So this is my role only, actually. I think we could have interviewed you sometime back. So internal audit mein, you don't have to, so have you, the first question that you should ask yourself is that whether you have done any bank audits or not. Okay, if you have not done bank audits, then you prepared in the similar lines I told you. You should be aware about all those things what I told you. Basics of banking, right? And you need to know all the parameters that I shared, the links that I have shared with you. Or in internal audit also, there are various divisions, various departments. So there is a treasury audit, there is a IT audit, there is credit audit. So whatever business verticals I was telling you, each has their own audit, and that reports into the head of internal audit. So I don't think you have to, if you have not worked in audit, it will purely come down to your communication skills primarily, then how much banking you understand. And it will purely depend on what kind of role you're auditing. So if you're auditing, let's say credit, you're going as part of the credit audit, whatever I told as part of the credit manager would be asked you also. कि आप ऐसे फाइल देख रहे हो, इसमें ये है, तो आप, what will be your observation? It will be more as a third line of defense that is going to be asked for. But if you are going into as a branch banking, then you need to know the products that are being sold in the branch. Branch में क्या क्या होता है, cash dealings होते हैं, cash का रहता है. There are a lot of banks which has lockers and all those things. So it is very difficult to generalize. It would depend on what kind of internal audit role you are applying or you have been called for. But if it is very general, then you should prepare whatever I have told you. Nothing specific.
Got it. Great. I think so. This applies for all the banks, right, sir? मतलब a lot of students are asking कि HDFC के लिए भी ऐसा ही होता है क्या? SBI के लिए भी ऐसा ही होता है क्या? I think it's for the
सब बैंक में ऐसा ही होता है. जो मैंने बोला, whatever. PSUs में generally the entry route is through a PO. I don't know whether they are doing campus recruitments or not, but because of late PSU banks have also become very aggressive, right? They are also hiring quite well. But it is true for all banks.
Okay.
All banks. And if you really want to know what all kinds of banks are there, of course, there are PSU banks, private sector banks, then there are small finance banks, there are payment banks. तो ये तो आप लोगों को पता होगा ही, I guess, hopefully. नहीं पता है तो आप वापस वही गूगल करके देख लेना. पूछा पेमेंट बैंक क्या है, मतलब you should not be grappling because this has been happening for till some time back. अभी तो it has settled down now. You should be aware about all these things. So it is true for all the banks. So there is nothing and nothing specific कि ये बैंक ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा.
Got it. Last thing, sir. Last two questions out. One is regarding how is the work-life balance and the timing in the banking domain.
Oh, that's a very tricky question. Yeah. Malav, you really want me to discourage people to join the bank?
No, just about the holidays and workings and just.
So it purely depends on the department that you are going and what role you are working in. It depends on your boss also at times. But in banks, typically, the pressure will be there in whatever department you go. It is definitely not a 9 to 5 job or a 10 to 5 job or a 10 to 6 job. It's not that. You have to be flexible. It is demanding. It is very demanding. As in all these I'm sharing from my experience. It is very demanding. It would ask you things that you have never imagined also, as in you will be asked, "Aajana Sunday ko कर लेते हैं संडे को खत्म,
हम्म,
ये भी आ सकता है. Purely because you have to understand, because the timelines are very rigid. It is not like other industry की या other industries में क्या होता है, एक दिन बाद में क्लोज कर दिया चलेगा. यहाँ पे वैसे नहीं होता है. अगर 15th को आरबीआई का रिपोर्टिंग है तो 15th को ही जाना है. उस दिन आपका दशहरा है, दुर्गा पूजा है, गणपति है, कुछ भी है, तो 14th को जाना है. वो बाद में नहीं, एक दिन पहले जाना है. राइट. सो बिकॉज द टाइमलाइंस आर वेरी रिजिड, generally people have to work around that timelines, right? Work life balance, I would suggest, think about work life balance after a certain time. Maybe when you have spent good 8-10 years in banks, and because initial phase you guys should spend time in learning. That is lot of learning, but it would be demanding. मतलब क्रेडिट मैनेजर्स ऐसे मत सोचिए कि रिलेशनशिप नंबर्स का प्रेशर नहीं रहेगा तो खुश रहोगे, ऐसा नहीं होगा. मतलब यू विल बी पाइल्ड ऑन विद फाइल्स व्हिच यू विल बी आस्क्ड टू क्लियर ऑफ. कि फटाफट देखो यार मेरा मंथ एंड आ रहा है. मंथ एंड्स तो आर क्रेजी. मंथ एंड्स, क्वार्टर एंड्स, हाफ ईयर एंड्स एंड ईयर एंड्स, दोज वुड बी क्रेजी. अदर देन पीपल हु आर इन ऑडिट वाले का प्रेशर उसके बाद होगा. बट बिजनेस एंड क्रेडिट एंड ऑल दिस थिंग बहुत मंथ एंड में, मतलब 29th आप 1st से 15 तक एक भी फाइल नहीं आएगा आपके पास. अचानक 28-29 में इतना फाइल आ जाएगा आप शायद घर ही नहीं जा पाओगे. ऐसा भी हो सकता है. तो फिर आप गाली दोगे, आप रिलेशनशिप मैनेजर्स को बोलोगे यार तुम लोग यार पहले क्यों नहीं लाते हो फाइल, यार अभी मंथ एंड में ही सब लाते हो. और उनके ऊपर भी प्रेशर रहेगा ना कि नंबर्स क्लॉक करना है.
हाँ, टारगेट. Got it. Great sir, great. So last pro tip sir, कुछ ऐसा बता दीजिए कि this people will be able to clear the interviews, or anything which you feel like sharing with the audience before we close the session out.
Only one last thing. See, banking is no rocket science. Okay, it's a very commonsensical thing, very absolutely common sense. Okay, my boss used to always tell me ki whatever product you take in bank, it is absolute common sense. There is nothing extraordinary. It's not that you will press button here and there will be one rocket flying out of the NASA. वहां से निकल जाएगा, ऐसा तो कुछ होने वाला है नहीं. And you need to have, because all of you have that accounting and you guys are all chartered accountants, you will be able to handle those. So be confident. Confidence and your communication skill matters a lot. Whatever you are asked for, if you are not sure, don't hesitate to say that no, I don't know, I am not aware, I have not done this thing, because banking is huge. Everybody doesn't know everything. But at the same breath, you should also say that given an opportunity, I can always study and come back to you on all this. Not a problem at all. So tip is that only. Don't be tensed कि ये क्या पूछेगा. What will he ask? मतलब ऐसा तो कुछ है नहीं कि तुमको एटम बम का कॉम्पोजिशन पूछेगा बेसिक फाइनेंशियल कॉमन सेंस पूछेगा.
Right.
So I don't think that should be a challenge at all.
Right. और इतना ज्ञान देने के बाद I think they can at least search something out and speak something in their interviews.
Yeah. I think means इतना बोलने के बाद भी अगर लोग पढ़ के नहीं जाएंगे तो मतलब इससे ज्यादा, मतलब I would call it कैप्सूल फीडिंग या स्पून फीडिंग तो मेरे टाइम पे कोई करके नहीं दिया था, obviously. But I thought I will share it with everyone because it will help everyone. And this is true for all the interviews you attend. आप ये पढ़ के जाओगे, you will create impression in front of your interviewers.
Right. So great. I think really insightful session, right? You can share and thought process in the chat box. और before we conclude, एक बार जोरदार तालियां बनती है यार सर के लिए, right? Unmute करके और वीडियोस ऑन करके सर के घर तक तालियों की आवाज पहुंचा जाए यार. Thank you sir. Really thank you for this.
Thank you sir.
Thank you, sir.
Really thank you sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for again joining in.
Thank you.
Yes, I think others, those who have connected, right, आप अपने thought process, you can thank sir in the chat box, right, and you can subscribe to our channel, you can like this video out, you can share with your friends, and also just a small update before we conclude, right, tomorrow we have an event on how to apply jobs for Dubai. One of the mentor who has been working in Dubai for very long, he's going to be sharing his thought process. Rajnish, really thank you once again for joining us for this session. Heads off, right, to you, and really thank you once again for joining in for the session.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Shivam, and great initiative. I hope people will get benefit out of it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Right. If you have still any queries left, you can drop it in the comment section. We'll try to collate all the queries and we'll try to resolve it.
I think we can do that, Shivam. If people have questions, maybe you can send it out to me. I'll see how we can respond that.
Sure. तो YouTube पे live है. YouTube पे you will be able to comment it out after a while, right? वहाँ पे आप queries लिख देना. We'll try to resolve it out.
Okay. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.